dooba dooba. Dooba dooba dooba. Dooba dooba dooba.
You're right. I did purchase these shorts with my own American dollars, and my ass is clad with the blessings of an entire culture. It's a great time. Hi everybody, what's going on? Welcome back to this crazy corner of the internet where occasionally we provide educational content when it comes to wiggling your body. Wow! So a bit of backstory. I filmed this video earlier this year actually, and I'm finally now getting around to sharing this lovely interaction with you all. I've been doing dance comps for a while, and occasionally I'll get questions from you guys, from friends, people I hang out with, how does a dance comp work? What happens during a dance comp? How do I get started? How do I get into it? This is all about wiggling your body. Just some musical shit. It's gonna be great. A couple of things I wanted to mention before we dive in. First of all, I don't really talk about how to dance in this video. That's not really what this is about. This has more to do with how to get yourself into a dance competition, what to expect, a little bit of advice about how to prepare, and getting out there and wowing a crowd with your feet. It's a great time. I am joined by two lovely guests in this video, and I'm super excited for you to meet them and hang out with all three of us while we talk about all the wiggling stuff. So this is Fursuit Dance Comps 101, a casual interview with two lovely fuzzies, and enjoy the video. Hello. I am joined today by two lovely contestants on The Price is Right. Just kidding. I'm joined today by two lovely humans. To my right, Pandez. Pandez has lots of experience hosting dance competitions. So I have so many questions for you because I'm very curious about this process. I know virtually nothing about it. To the south of your computer screen, you will see Tyzin. What's it like down there?
It's got a terrible view.
Terrible view. You see nothing but my overbite. Just
It's just a bunch of fluff.
Yeah. Tyzin has both danced and judged for dance competitions for a long time now as well. I just want to sort of go over loosely what a dance competition looks like, and then we can talk about the different components from there. What we won't really be talking about today is Floor Wars. I know that's the other popular event that kind of runs alongside dance comps at a convention. Tyzin, do you want to just take a couple seconds to talk about your experiences with Floor Wars, what it is, just so the viewers understand how it's different from a dance comp?
Yeah, sure. Floor Wars is a little bit of a different twist. It's more of like a 1v1 or 2v2 type thing. It's more modeled around the ciphers that you'd see with breakdancing competitions, where people would circle around and you have two people kind of dance against each other. Real quick, trying to get more of a quick decision on who's the better dancer. And at times it can be kind of chaotic. A lot of different styles can come into that, but it seems to weigh more heavily towards the b-boy breakdance styles, which some people may not want to participate as much in. They want to do more of a traditional style, or even some people do ballet or things like that, and that's not quite the right scene for it because it's more of it's a battle. You're fighting against the other person, and yeah, a little bit of a different twist, but still fun.
I've never actually gone to a Floor Wars or watched one, but there's a bunch of videos of it online on YouTube. It's really, really easy to find an excerpt, if you will, of a Floor Wars competition out there. So if you're curious, very easy to find. A dance competition is exactly what it sounds like. People wiggle in front of more people, and there's judgments. That's it. Of course, they'll be registering to go to the convention, but then furthermore, they'll be probably signing up for the actual dance competition. There's usually a form that they can fill out on the convention's website to give all your info and put yourself in a position where you can then go try out for the dance comp. At the convention, there is usually what they call prelims, which I believe is short for preliminaries. That is essentially your audition to be a finalist in the dance competition. It's usually a minute. I think you have to perform about a minute of your song at the conventions I've seen. Do the best you can to wiggle for all the people. And then the judges will decide whether or not you can perform in front of more people. which is a great feeling. If you are selected as a finalist, you then dance in the actual dance competition, and then judges will do judgy things, and then people will place, and then there will be lots of applause and a lot of giggles, and it's a great time. It usually runs like an hour and a half. I'm gonna start with some questions for Pandez. What would you say is the job of the host or an MC at a dance competition?
So the MC is basically, you've got the dancers dancing, you've got the judges judging, and the MC sort of is the transition between the two. It's like, hey, okay, let's go to the judges, or okay, let's bring out the next dancer. One of the big things about being the MC is hyping up the crowd. You want to keep them energized, you want to keep them going, because they will, for some reason, go silent. And I've been guilty of this myself. Like, I've watched a dance and just sat there in shock, like, and the MC has to remind them, like, hey, you know what helps keep these people going, dancing, is giving them energy, clapping, being loud. Like, they want that. They thrive on that. So you're trying to keep the crowd going, keep everything running on time, so that, you know, it's like, hey, judges, you've been talking for 12 minutes. The dance routine was 90 seconds. Let's wrap this up.
Yep.
So it's just kind of keeping things running smooth and keeping the crowd, you know, ready for the next dancer, and, just trying to be the party host of a dance comp.
How many times have you hosted a dance comp?
I would say it's somewhere between 10 and 15. I don't have an exact number in my head, but I know I've either hosted or co-hosted MCFC, IFC, First Squared. I think I co-hosted Anthro Ohio once, if I remember correctly.
Okay.
That might have been the one that I actually danced at. Let's not talk about that.
I might remember that.
I danced at that out of suit because people were like, no, dance. I'm like, fine. I even actually did the very first cosplay dance competition at Youmacon, which is an anime convention. They had myself and Alkale as guests. I mean, they had like 87 guests because it's an anime con.
Yeah.
We decided, okay, well, let's do something a little different this con. So we tried to bring something from the furry fandom into the anime con. So it was interesting experience, but not quite the same as a furry dance con.
Since you've done so many of them, in your opinion, what is your favorite part about being a host of a dance comp?
My favorite part is honestly just seeing the camaraderie between the dancers. I mean, these people are battling it out, but you see them on the sideline or behind, up on the stage waiting for their turn or relaxing after their turn, and they are cheering on their fellow competitors. They're getting all excited if they see them do some crazy move, or just seeing the togetherness of the whole dancer. Like, they may not know each other at all, but they are all there as one big dancing family during these competitions, and it's wonderful.
What would you say is the most challenging part of being the host of a dance comp?
For me, it's kind of a two-part. It's number one, keeping the energy up without being repetitive, because it does get a little repetitive. It's like, hey, let's keep the energy going. Hey, let's keep clapping. It's like you almost feel like you're nagging the crowd at one point, and you're trying to find different ways of getting them to laugh or cheer or interact in some capacity to keep their attention. Like, hey, you're not just watching TV at home. Be involved here. You're part of this event. Also, I at times can have the memory of a goldfish. So it's like, I'm looking at my list of names and I'm like, all right, let's give it up for, wait, was that the person who just danced, or is that the person who's coming up next? What's going on? Where am I on my list? I should have brought a pen. I should have crossed out the name. I don't know what's going on. And so I'm like, trying to remember, okay, that was this person. Okay, good, I was right. So if you see me at a dance comp with a piece of paper, it's because I'm like so into the moment, I'm forgetting who it is. It's just dancer, having fun. And oh yeah, that's who they are.
In a way, there's sort of like a form of improv that needs to happen. So, you're hyping up the crowd, you're making jokes, you're kind of being the the TV kind of show host or whatever. And you mentioned something which is a really great point, actually, that you wanted to avoid being repetitive. So in my mind, that means, okay, well, then you sort of have to wear several hats because you're kind of doing, you're being that WWE announcer, you're being that stand-up comedian, and just all of these different roles that you might have to fill.
You are the Cerberus of dance comp. You're like, yes, you've got all these different, voices in your head that's like, I have to do this, I have to do that, I have to do this, and you have to get them all to merge together. Which, again, trying to not be repetitive, try to be funny, try to get engaging. It can be tough, especially depending on the crowd. Some of them are like super easy, like, hey, I want to hear some energy. Like you try to give them the old, I want to hear some energy. And then they give you a half-ass clap, and then you're like, no, I want to hear some energy, and they give you something super crazy loud. And sometimes there'll be such a great crowd, it's like, let's hear some noise, and they blow the roof off, and you're like, well, I can't do that because you can't top that.
If you had to boil your strategy down to like an easy as 1, 2, 3 kind of process, what is your process or strategy for being a good host for a dance comp?
Number one, get in and talk to the dancers beforehand, make sure they know the lineup, ask them for their pronunciation of their names so you don't butcher it. Hey, it's Pandez! No, get the pronunciation right. Number two, if you spot somewhere where you can throw out something humorous or where you can get the crowd laughing and have them actually forget for a second that it's a dance comp and get them to refocus. Sometimes they can get laser focused. And it's like, you pull them out of the moment for a second so that they can go back into it. 3 is always look for the positivity. Like as the MC, you're not the judge. You're not the one to go, oh, you could have used a little more space there, or you are always there to encourage the dancers, encourage the crowd. You're always the voice of positivity no matter what. You never want anyone to leave the dance comp feeling like, I'm never coming back and trying this again. You always want them to be able to come back and try it again. And it doesn't matter if they finish in first place or they didn't place at all. They participated in something that everyone got thorough enjoyment about the event, and that's what you have to remember every time going into it.
Since you don't provide critique necessarily during the event, it gives you a unique perspective on the dancers and their routines and the feedback they're getting from judges. And of course, you've seen plenty of brand new dancers come out onto the dance floor for the first time, as you've hosted these competitions. So if you could give new dancers one piece of advice, what would it be?
Find a good piece of music and rehearse, but be prepared for pickups. You might be partway through your routine and blank and have to just go from scratch. And you know what? It doesn't matter. It's fine. Just go with the flow. Just if you rehearse enough, most of what you rehearse will be out there no matter what. Even if you I was supposed to do this move there. It's okay. Just move on. Go to the next one. Dance to something that not necessarily is what you think the crowd wants to hear. Dance to something you want to dance to. Something that makes you want to move. Doesn't matter whether it's graceful and ballet-like. Doesn't matter if it's I don't know the different names for moves. I'm sure Tyzin would be like, well, there's this, and this. But like, just let your body move the way feels good to the music that you like, and just get out there and have fun. And the more you do it, the more you'll be like getting cheered on by the crowd, and you're gonna love that.
That is really the way to bring like authentic dance energy out in the competition, is to just be inside of that energy that you want to be inside of,
The perfect example for that to me is Seth Otter. If you've ever watched them dance, it's the most like it's the dance comp on Red Bull.
Yes.
It's like super high energy the entire time. He doesn't let up for one single second. And I look at that and go, I would never dance to that, but that doesn't matter. He's dancing to that because he enjoys it, and it's wonderful and fantastic. So just you find what you enjoy and you dance to it, and it doesn't matter whether anyone else would. You're dancing to it and you're enjoying it, and that's what matters.
What was your favorite dance competition that you hosted for?
over the years they kind of blend together, but I'd have to say Youmacon, being their first cosplay convention, they never had a dance competition before there. The idea of doing it in cosplay, they were like, what? That doesn't make any sense. I'm like, no, believe me, it's adorable. You should try it. And like when we first started up, there were some dancers there, and there was like really no crowd, and we were like, oh, this isn't any good. And then when you get the music start playing, and you see people out on the floor doing the moves, and people out in the hallway are like, what's this? And they're coming in and they're enjoying that dance comp for the very first time. And like that's an experience I haven't had in 10 years because we've been doing it, that my first dance comp was that I saw was probably MFF 2008ish. Like one of my, or maybe AC 2008. It was my first year in the fandom, and seeing it at one of the larger conventions. So before I even got into helping with the smaller conventions, the look on people like, wow, this is cool, this is interesting. Like just to see this happening at an event that's never had that before, that will always be a memory up here.
Is there anything else you want to share with the viewers?
Get out there, practice. You'll make it one day if you haven't already. Go to the comps and just enjoy them. They're a blast. They're a hoot. You will enjoy them. Watch. There's so many good ones on YouTube on various channels. If you find a dancer you really enjoy, hit up their Patreon or something, that helps support them. Because I mean, they a lot of the dancers don't have a Twitch stream or a podcast or anything where you can go watch and support them. So just hit them up, give them what love you can, because we want to keep this kind of talent being showcased in this fandom for as long as we can.
Thank you so much for sharing your insights and your experiences. Those were absolutely wonderful. It sounds like you've had just an absolute blast as a host, and you're very knowledgeable. So
any con that ever wants to have me, hit me up.
Yes, absolutely. I can vouch. Pandez does a great job. We will turn it over to our resident Durgan, Tyzin. I have lots of questions for you about judging because, as you know, I love to be judgmental, and I'm very, very curious about everything. So, so I have lots of questions. Just to get us started, what would you say is the job of a judge for a dance competition?
Besides judging?
Yeah.
Basically, they get a front row seat and a louder opinion. Ultimately, though, it's to kind of separate and ultimately come up with a decision of who is the quote-unquote best dancer for that competition. A lot of things can go into that. Ultimately, that's what their job is, as well as, like with Pandez, to be entertaining, give critique that is constructive, and keep the audience engaged and keep it fun.
Is there like a universal, let's say like a rubric that judges use to sort of rank everybody? Are there certain features or aspects of a dance that all judges are pretty much looking for? Or would you say it varies by the convention, perhaps?
It can vary by convention, but typically there's a lead judge who will have some sort of gauge for how to judge. Have a discussion before the competition on what that is. It can vary, but usually has categories such as, you've probably heard, musicality, or how well they're embodying the music. The routine elements, such as how well they're using the available space, the degree of difficulty of the moves, and how well they engage the audience as well. But usually around 3 to 4 different elements, and they'll be usually judged on like a 1 to 5 or 1 to 10 scale, and then those will add it up. So you have basically a judge for each individual, or a score for each individual judge that can then be added for an overall score.
You're saying there are probably anywhere from 3 to 4 to 5 different elements that are being looked at for a dance. Those are ranked or scored anywhere from 1 to 5, and then each judge will have a score for a person, and then those, however many scores, are then averaged. Does that sound right?
Yeah. Okay. And usually you don't want to go too far. 4, I'd say, is the max that I've seen. Just because beyond that, trying to watch for each of these elements within 2 minutes or less, it's hard to get a good gauge on all of that before the next dancer starts. So if you start getting to like 5, 6, 7 elements, it's just going to be too chaotic. So trying to keep it simple and focus on the main points of it.
Gotcha. Once the scoring is completed for all of the finalists that compete, right? How would you then describe the placement process? Like how ultimately from those scores, how do you end up ranking everybody?
I've seen it a couple different ways. One way is just the mathematical way where you would add up all the scores and see who had the highest score or not. If there's any ties, there would be maybe some deliberation on those ties. I've also seen it where each judge from their own scores will pick their top 3 and then compare that to the top 3 of the other judges to see which ones they would debate on it and come up to an ultimate classification of first, second, third. I've seen it both ways, and I've seen it work both ways.
I'm assuming the judges don't always agree with each other. So in that case, is there like a majority vote system or like what have you seen to sort of resolve some of those discrepancies?
They'll talk about some of the elements if they had some disagreements on like the musicality or things like that. Because for me judging, I might just put everybody at a 10 on musicality and didn't really give them a range. Maybe I was too critical on musicality for a lot of them, and so their score overall was lower. So that's where you can get the issue if everybody is just combining all the numbers and then combining them together. It doesn't quite weigh evenly for each judge. So we'll look at little elements like that when they're discussing it and see, oh, you were really harsh on these. You didn't have anything above a 3. Doesn't seem quite right. And you're like, okay, yeah, so I can see that. And we're kind of learning as we go through as well, just based on what we see and little different differences in our technique of watching and grading it.
This is actually a question I've gotten from people in the past, and also I've seen this happen in previous dance competitions. Do conventions reward the top 3 in some way when they place on a dance competition? Does it always happen that way? Does it, what do the rewards look like if people place? What is your experiences with that?
From my experience, especially with performing, I've only noticed like a reward system for one of the competitions I was in, where it was like free reg for the next competition. A lot of it, there isn't really like a monetary or some sort of prize for it. Most of it's just you're there and you get the airtime to express yourself and to perform for others. So not really like a ultimate prize type thing like $1 million. It's just you're out there to kind of showcase yourself and kind of put yourself out there and express to everybody else. Not that there isn't other a lot of different conventions out there, and I'm sure some of them may do some sort of prizes. I've seen little plaques, trophies, but nothing like substantial that I've seen as far as monetary value. The free reg, sometimes they want you to come back and do a small performance for the other ones for the next competition. So sometimes that's the incentive, is to make sure they come back so they can do something later.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Guest judge or something like that.
What I want to talk about next is the concept of a showcase.
I've seen a couple different types of showcases. One is like I said, with the previous year's winner coming back to do some sort of dance routine, not where they're in the competition so much, but just kind of showcasing their talents. That could be at the beginning of the dance competition, just to kind of get everybody hyped and get everybody ready for all the other performances that are coming. Could be more towards the end to kind of give the judges. I've seen it where the judges were deliberating on like placements and they had the showcase to kind of do that while they were figuring stuff out for scoring. Then the other one that I've been a part of was, I believe this with MFF, Midwest Fur Fest, where they did a group showcase where you get a bunch of people. They sent out videos like a month in advance. Everyone's practicing the routines, and we come together finally, the day before we're going to do it, and piece everything together to do this huge dance showcase to kick off the whole competition. That was a lot of fun. Those type of ones I'd prefer. It's more of a, you get to be really technical with it and kind of build something up to it. It's not just relying on one person. But yeah, in either case, those showcases they're more of an addition, get the crowd hyped and get everything kind of moving along.
You've judged a lot of times. How many times have you judged?
Actually, I think it's been 4 times.
Okay.
There was the GLFC one, FCN 2013, I believe, then MCFC 2021. I think there was another one in there somewhere. I can't quite remember.
What would you say is your favorite part about being a judge for a dance comp?
Really seeing all the different people dance, and the creativity that they have, the music choices, how they move to it, what they kind of incorporate into that. There's always something that astounds me, kind of shocks me. It's like, oh, I didn't think about that. And from my own dancing and things like that, it's like, oh, I should incorporate something like that. But then at the same time, you don't want to copy people and things like that, and be kind of your own unique kind of expression. But yeah, it's always cool seeing what they come up with. The creativity is awesome.
What would you say is the most challenging part about being a judge?
When someone takes a dance floor, they're sharing not only the movements of their body, but also the movements of their soul. You see more about who they are as an individual in those 2 minutes, more than you could learn in years of being their friend, because it takes a great deal to put that on display. And deciding between two numbers to grade that seems an injustice to the bravery it takes. Going out there, you're picking music that you like. You're moving how you like to move. You're expressing yourself to your innermost feelings and how you move, unrestricted. And that's a lot to put out there. Some people are afraid to do that. Some people are afraid to show who they are, how they express themselves. And I commend that bravery. But giving a number for that, I'm kind of jealous about Pandez's role, because you have to be critical on it, and that's what's so hard, is you have to pick that number and you have to decide who's first, second, and third, and that's probably the hardest part about it.
If you could give new dancers one piece of advice, what would it be?
Get more advice than my one piece of advice.
That's
like wishing
reasonable.
for more wishes. Yeah, that's like wishing for more wishes. But really, it comes down to practice. You can tell, especially in the competitions, who's practiced their moves, who's put the time into it, and that resonates a lot with people who are judges, because they've been in that role. They know the time, they know the effort that it takes to really get clean at these moves, how often you have to do it. And once you're doing it so smoothly, it feels natural. They see that, they notice that, they know you put the hard work and effort into it, and they're going to grade you accordingly too. They're going to see that as, this person really deserves this, because they've put a lot into that. These moves are clean. They got a couple slips, but I mean, it's great. And most of the time, what we see as fellow dancers, most of the audience doesn't see. I remember one of my first dances, I was so critical about myself, because I was my only judge for the longest time. I'd record myself and see how I dance, criticize myself, and always saw all the things that were wrong. And when I go to do the routine, like Pandez said, flaws happen, and you're like, oh, I did terrible. But then people come up to you and watching it, and they're like, you did awesome. That was so cool when you did that. It's like, they didn't even notice the bad stuff, and that's pretty cool. So get more advice than just from one person, especially yourself. You're your hardest judge usually, and that can really bring you down.
What was your favorite dance comp that you judged for?
Oh, that'd have to be MCFC 2021, because I got to see Dune dance. I think it was, because the more I judge, especially being critiquing myself and how I judge, I feel like I'm developing those techniques better, what to say. I'm not the most rehearsed when it comes to that type of thing, and a lot of times I just don't know what to say. But giving good criticism or constructive feedback, I think I'm getting better at that, and I think that was so far the best I've gotten to so far. So that was a lot of fun.
Is there anything else you want to share with the viewers?
Oh, sure. For those that want to do judging in the future, based on what I said previously, prepare yourself. It can be quite the endeavor, mentally draining at times. I know afterwards I feel sometimes just as tired as if I had danced, but definitely fun and great to support these competitions in any way you can, by either being a participant, being a spectator, or judging if you do get the chance to do that. I love it, and for me, I'll never stop trying to participate as much as I can.
Thank you so much for sitting down with me for a little bit over the interweb space, talking shop for a bit. I had so many things I wanted to learn about, and I feel like I've learned a lot today, and I believe our audience will feel the same way.
Hopefully.
Yes, absolutely. Pandez, if people want to follow you, support you, all the things, where can they find you online?
More than likely, they can find me on Twitter at PandezPanda, or you can find me staffing MCFC or IFC. That's pretty much the main ones. Hopefully, coming to a comedy club near you. I'm trying to gear up into actually hitting up non-furry events in regards to that, but it was right at the point where I was going to do that, and then the last 2 years happened.
Yeah.
So we'll see if I can get back into that mindset again.
Tyzin, where, if people want to follow you, support you, do all the things, where can they find you on the interwebs?
I'm not on the interwebs that much. Usually at conventions, you'll be able to find me there. I do have my own YouTube channel, but it's more gauged towards other non-furry things. So I'm on Discord, Steam, FA. If you message me on there, I mean, playing games as much as I can, as much as life and work will allow me to. But yeah, if you stumble upon me, say hi.
The standard FA note.
Subject hi, body nothing. For the people who are watching, if you have any questions for these lovely individuals, I'm sure I, myself, or they themselves would be very willing to respond. Please drop your questions in the comments below. We'll get you an answer from an expert as soon as possible. Our hours of operation are Monday through Friday, 12 a.m. to 12 a.m. We're open for 1 minute every day. That's it. Leave your questions in the comments, and we'll go from there. It'll be a fun time. Thanks for hanging out, and we'll probably see you guys at MCFC, right?
Absolutely.
Sounds good.
Yes.
Bye! Well, gosh, that was so much fun. I hope you enjoyed hanging out with Tyzin and Pandez today as much as I did. It was super fun getting to be able to talk about all of the wiggly business with them, and I learned a ton about how dance comps work. So I might have to bug them for more secrets at some point. If there's anything you want to see in a future video, please let me know in the comments below, and I will do my best to make it happen. Well, that's all for now. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the very next video where new things are coming. Oh, there are so many new things coming. I'm very excited for all of you, but shh, it's coming soon. I promise. I'll get you an update as soon as I can, but I just want to tell you about everything that's happening right now. I'm so excited. Stay tuned. A very new flavor of Dune the Fox is coming very soon to your computing devices. Wow. All right.